All right, what's up, y'all? Hope y'all good. Um, we're officially going live right now. Where's the? Oh Lord, stay with me, y'all, as I get ready to set this up. Hopefully y'all having a good day. Yo, it's a nice day today. At least where I'm at for the most part. Hopefully y'all enjoying the summertime. A lot of stuff happening right now. Here we go. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see it? Man, this is crazy that I'm doing this. Nah, I'm just playing with y'all. Man, first off, I'm glad to be here with y'all today. Trying something different, just trying to go live. You know what I'm saying? Do this live, see if we get anything, just to see and share the message more. Um, Once again, y'all, if y'all don't know, my name is Dr. Johnson. I talk about imposter syndrome. Only thing I talk about on this channel for sure. And we break down imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon, one or two that you may know it by. But we break it down through culture, we break it down through application, we break it down through definition, just so that we could get a good understanding of this. And once again, y'all, the thing is, nobody really talks about imposter syndrome. Nobody knows what it is. Everybody deals with it. Okay. And we're going to jump into imposter syndrome. That's essentially that we're going to be talking about today. And like I said, I got a little slide seminar for y'all that I want to make sure that we understand and we understand what we're about to learn today. And what I think about today, y'all, is that I think about it very simple. You already know, right? You already know. So when I'm talking about that, when I say you already know, I'm talking about you specifically. I'm talking about you're in a meeting, right? And then somebody just explained something in 5 steps. Okay. You probably heard this before. You follow three of them. You know that this is super easy. You know you totally get it. You follow three of those different things. The person next to you is nodding their head like, yep, taking notes. They look totally good. They look completely fine. And you think to yourself, right, I'm the only one who don't know what's going on. Here's what you don't know. And this is what we need to all start to pay attention to. The person next to you, yes, the person sitting right next to you, they don't know what's going on either, right? They're totally lost. They have no clue at all. They're just better at hiding it than you. Okay. Now, if that's ever been you in a meeting, classroom, if you're in school, in an interview, anything like that, stay with me, right? Just for the next few minutes, because I'm going to show you something that's true, whether you believe it or not. Okay. And you already know you're good enough. You just haven't built the evidence file yet. Okay. So that's what we're focusing on today. If you want to learn more about it, stick with me because we're about to go through this pretty quickly. All right. There's three things I want to talk about before we actually start talking about imposter syndrome. Okay. The very first thing is that this has a name and a structure. And I can't stress this enough, y'all. Once you how do I say this? Once you see this, right? One Once you understand this, it's going to be hard for you not to be ignorant anymore. Okay. It's just like once you see something and then you see it forever, you know, you stuck with it. Like, dang, I can't let it go. And once you know about it, then your whole world is changed around. Okay. So, as far as what you call overthinking, or if you thought about being hard on yourself, or imposter syndrome, right? That's the name and structure. Okay. So we're going to be talking about that. Number two, this is costing you something right now. I can't stress this enough. Imposter syndrome costs a lot of different things. It costs a lot of different things. So the question you didn't ask in a meeting, the promotion you didn't apply for because you weren't sure you were ready, right? One missed promotion. If you miss one promotion, that can miss out on your money. For example, let's say, right, that promotion that you could have got if you just applied was 10,000. You was going to go and get a salary increase from whatever to 10,000. You know, that could help. That could help a lot. Y'all know gas is high right now. Food is high. Everything is high this past year. I've seen the increase crazy, right? But everything is high. And if you think about that promotion that you missed, let's say you stay in that same role for 3 more years, you just missed out on $30,000, right? $30,000. Not because you weren't qualified, but because you waited for a moment that never actually came. Okay. And number three, before we get into it, the company that you are currently working for right now, the program that you're at, or if you're at the university, has already invested quite a bit into you, whether you know that or not. Okay. They invested into your technical skills. Here's the thing that I just want you to understand. Nobody invested in the thing that actually is stopping you from using those technical skills. Okay. That investment is going to have to come from you. Nobody else. That only comes from you. So that today, that investment is going to be through your attention, and it's just going to be for 30 minutes, right? So you stay with me, you're going to learn something today. Okay. So let's get to it, right? And let's talk about a couple different things, right? First thing I want to mention. Here's the thing, and just to let you know, background about me, I'm in STEM. I got a chemistry PhD. That's my world. That's what I talk about. So if I talk about lab stuff, if I talk about chemistry in some type of way, right, that's me, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I do. Okay. Um, Here's the thing that nobody tells you in STEM, right? Just believe in yourself. That don't work for, analytical minds. That's going to be hard to actually work for analytical minds. You were trained to question everything, every single thing. You don't walk into a lab and say, I just believe this reaction will proceed. You check the actual data. So when someone fails an exam and gets told just to have confidence, that's not advice, y'all. No way can that be advice. Here's the reason why. Because it's a static, right? That's like a still picture in a way. You're being asked to override data with vibes. And that just sometimes doesn't work for, people in the STEM world. Okay. Here's the good news. You don't need confidence. You don't need confidence in this case, right? A couple different things that you do need. You need evidence. Okay. You need evidence. So with that evidence, that is what you're going to be building today. Okay. That's the goal today. You're going to be building this, right? So real quick, if you hear me, just let me know. Comment anything. In this case, this will go up if you ever look at this after. So comment in the case or as far as about that. Okay. Um, So first thing that I'm going to talk about with y'all today, y'all, is that we're going to talk about the 5 types of imposter syndrome. That's basically what we're about to get into. The reason why I like to start off with the 5 types of imposter syndrome is because if you identify the type of imposter that you are, we can better help you combat that specific type of imposter, right? So once again, for y'all that are not aware, imposter syndrome is basically where you feel like you have all the education, you have all the credentials, just like your peers around you. You have everything, you understand, you probably have the experience. You've been in the game for 5 years, at least 10 years, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even 30 years. Some of y'all might definitely have been in the game for a while, but you have experience. That's the key thing, right? So you have credentials, you have experience, you have everything that you need to understand. Now, once you understand that, here's the thing that makes it imposter syndrome, because this is the key thing. So you can have all those credentials, right? However, despite that, you feel like you don't belong in that setting. You feel like a fraud. All right. You feel like a fake. You feel like a phony, even though I just listed all your accomplishments, all the credentials, all those different type of things. Okay. And the thing that pushes it to why we call it imposter syndrome is because not only do you feel like a fraud, even though you have everything that you're supposed to have, you qualify for whatever you're doing, but you give all of that, you give everything you ever done, all the accomplishments to external factors. So, for example, you might say, hey, I got this job because I was just lucky. Or, hey, I got this contract, right, for my business because I was just at the right time at the right moment. Or, hey, I got this promotion because I knew Gary, right? We all know Gary, right? Gary is a good friend of us all, right? So, that is what imposter syndrome is. And the thing with imposter syndrome is that you can actually break that down into 5 what we call types of imposter syndrome. Because once again, imposter syndrome is just a negative mental state of mind. That's how I look at imposter syndrome. Because if you're going through imposter syndrome, like I said, it's a lot of different things that it could cost you, right? If we just go back here, it could cost us a lot of different things, right? It could cost us missed opportunities. It could cost us a lot of different things that can mess up our whole mojo going forward, right? So let's break this down as far as what are the 5 types of imposter syndrome. I'm gonna go through these quickly, right? Because like I said, I'm only going to be here for, I said, 20 to 30 minutes. We're gonna stick to that time frame. So 5 types of imposter syndrome. And by the way, y'all, I'm gonna try to do this more. You're gonna see me start doing more of these slideshows and different things like that on my live. So if you ever miss one, just feel free to go back to the YouTube. But we got 5 types of imposter syndrome. That's what we about to talk about right now. All right. First one, the very first one, and I see this a lot with a lot of different people, is that the very first one we have is the perfectionist, right? The perfectionist. Anybody perfectionist, right? Anybody wants anything to be perfect. If so, put it in the chat. Let me know in the comment section. I cannot see that right now. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but yeah, put it down there. Now, let's talk about the perfectionist. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go into detail. I can't describe every core competency in detail today, but we're just going to do a brief overview. So if you're a perfectionist, I like to just point out, this phrase: if it's not 100%, it's a failure, right? So how many of us have been able to, let's say, I always like to think about like any type of test that we have to take. You guys should go. You saying, hey, I'm trying to get a 95 on this exam, right? I'm trying to get a 95. You take the exam. Next thing you know, you end up getting a 89, right? So you didn't get the 95. You didn't get the 95, unfortunately. However, you got an 89. That's a B plus. That is actually great. That's amazing. Everybody cannot get high grades like that. However, because you're a perfectionist, right? You say, oh, it's a failure, even though you pass. You got your credential, right? Nobody's going to actually look at your score and grade. They're just going to see your credential, the credential that you actually have, right? So you have that. You have that. Okay. That's a perfectionist. Perfectionist, like I said, and I can't go into detail, but basically you think everything needs to be perfect. And if you miss it, dang, it's the end of the world, right? The expert. The expert is basically, I need to know everything before I speak up. So I'm a big this is one of my types that I identify as an expert. So basically, what that means for me is basically like, even though when I have to go out and talk about something, I have to research every single little thing. I have to look at every single article. I have to look at every single interview. I had to read a couple, not a couple, a few papers just to make sure I understand. And then I might have to go call up a mentor. Then I might have to go pay a program just to make sure I understand. And then after that program, then I'm going to boost up to VIP. And then after VIP, I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm vibing with this person. So I'm going to go to another program to learn from that person about the same thing that I just spent the entire 2 years learning about. That, my friend, is what we call the expert. You need to know everything before you speak up. Here's the thing: that's costing you a lot of time, that's costing you a lot of money, right? We can see the cost effects of all these different things. So if you are an expert, once again, this is a type of imposter syndrome that you have, right? Type. Next up is natural genius. If I have to work hard at it, I'm not good enough, right? So if you ever been in a room, if you ever been around somebody, or if this might be you, if you feel the need to where, hey, you start doing something and then you notice like, dang, this is actually harder than I thought. That was the same thing, little things like even working out. I got to work out right after this. Um, it's super hard. I do not work out, y'all. I'm a skinny, frail being right now, but I'm trying to gain me some muscles. So because of that, it's super hard. And then there was times in the past where I would be like, this imposter syndrome, even though I was like worked out athletic before, stuff like that. But because it was hard when I first started, I gave up. I said I'm not good enough. That's the same mindset that natural genius go through, right? When you first start doing something, if it's not easy to them, they're not going to move forward with it because they believe because they are a natural genius that everything should come easy to them. Why? Because they're a genius, right? Well, at least that's what they're thinking. Okay. Number 4, the soloist. This is also one that I was definitely tripping with. Like I said, I've been through all these. To be honest with y'all, I'm not a perfectionist, though. So y'all can see this right now. Everything's not perfect right now. I just had to go press live and just go forward with it. So that's not the one that that ain't me. I'm just gonna be real with y'all. But these other ones definitely is me, especially the soloist. So the soloist is asking for help means I'm not capable. So if you ask for help, right, I'm not capable. What is that? It is what it is. Like I said with the soloist. So for you to understand this, um, you might be in your department, right? You know that you have this deadline coming up, got this huge project, but for some odd reason, you are not going to ask the person that did something similar to this just a month back, and you friends with them. This ain't no stranger. This is actually your friend, right? Who's willing to help you. But in your mind, because you are a soloist, you're not going to ask that question, right? You're not going to extend that hand out, right? To say, hey, can you help me out, Gary? Right? Gary the one that got you there, but you not about to ask him now. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's what I'm talking about. It's a cycle. It's a continuous cycle. So with you being a soloist, if you ask for help, that means that you're going to feel not capable. You're not going to feel competent. So because you don't feel competent, that's where self-doubt starts to creep in. And then now you're in another cycle because now you got to get the work done. You know what I'm saying? So last one, is going to be superhuman. I should excel at everything all at once. So people that are superhuman believe that they should be good at everything. There ain't nothing that a Superman, Superwoman believe that they're not good at because they're superhuman. Okay. So they believe that they should be a great mom, dad, they should be a great employee, right? They're starting a business. They think that they should be a great business owner, right? And then they believe that they should be the best community advocate, right? All at the same time. However, if you've been through life and if you thought about life just recently, right, then you understand that life be lifing. So we know that excelling at everything is hard, right? It's hard. But in their mind, the moment that they don't excel at something, then that's the end of the world. And once again, these are all types of imposter syndrome. These are all types of imposter syndrome. Okay. So once again, imposter syndrome deals with having the education, the credentials, the experience that your other peers have. But when you get in certain areas, that's my theory. But once you get around those peers, you then feel like a fraud. And when you start to feel like a fraud, you start to give all those accomplishments, all that education and stuff, all the different things that you have done to external factors. And it could be a variety of different external factors, but basically, you don't think that's you. And because you don't think that's you, this is how it manifests out, right? These different types of imposter syndromes. So if one of these is you, let me know. Let me know because I'm very interested if any of these are you going to be you. Okay. Now, what I'm going to focus on right now is that I've come up with the framework, trying to see if I can find it. I don't know where it is. I thought I had it on me, y'all, but I do not have it on me. So I wrote a book. If you subscribe to me, you know that I talk about the book. This is what the whole channel is about, imposter syndrome. So I wrote a book about imposter syndrome, but not only imposter syndrome, but how do you combat it? How do you fight imposter syndrome, right? Because I'll be honest with y'all before we get into talking about this right here. There ain't no way to beat imposter syndrome, right? There's no way that you could truly overcome imposter syndrome. And if somebody's telling you that they can help with that, then they're lying to you. So I'm going to be straight and honest with you. You cannot beat imposter syndrome. Now, how you react to imposter syndrome is a different story. And that's where I like to come in. Because, like I said, I've seen this at this point for years. I've interacted with people through my workshops, my live workshops. I've interacted with people through my keynotes, from students to newly professionals in their field to executives. Which is, man, I'm telling y'all, the executive part be crazy to me because these people who are executives, they big time. They got the money, they got all that type of stuff, but then they come to me after saying, you know what, that's crazy because I've gone through the same thing and I'm still going through it. And they be honest with me too. Because like I had somebody who just got their position and they was like, and I'm going through that right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing right now. I was like, dang, that's crazy. They giving out your job to people like this. And we're talking about VP levels at universities, man. This is crazy to me. But yeah, man, that is what's so crazy about imposter syndrome is that 70% of the people population and US population will go through imposter syndrome at some point in time in their life, right? There are that select few who never go through this. And I love that because I'm actually trying to study those type of people to see how my framework goes one on one with them. That's a whole nother story, right? But this is essentially, right, how when I experience imposter syndrome throughout my career, how I combat it, right? So let's get into this and we're going to talk about the Brave framework. Okay, and the first thing that I just like to focus on because I think of the Brave framework as like a build up, right? Is B, and B is the actual one of the most important components that you have to be able to do for yourself. So let's talk about what believe in yourself actually means because it's not what you think, right? It's not affirmations in the mirror, which I have nothing against affirmations in the mirror. I totally think that affirmations in the mirror is a great way to work, right? We talking about that's you going to a different type of level when you do that type of stuff. But we're not talking about affirmations in the mirror. We're not talking about just blind faith, just thinking that it's going to happen, right? And I'm not the person who's proposing to fake it till you make it. That helps to a certain extent, but eventually it catches up with you. So I'm talking about, do we have any evidence, right? Do we have any evidence that's going to help me believe in myself? And that's what I like to focus on with my framework, right? We talking about evidence-based confidence, not affirmations. And I'm once again, I'm not hating on affirmations. It's just like affirmations is a big thing right now. When I was first learning this type of stuff, they was killing me with affirmations, and then I would be in a mirror saying it or writing it down, and it just was not clicking with me, right? So sometimes you need that evidence to make it real for you. So this is what I want y'all to do. Like I said, this is going to live in a live, so you can feel free to review this, but I'm going to give you a quick exercise to do. Okay. So this is my evidence-based confidence that I want you to do. You are essentially about to collect data about yourself and then you're going to analyze it. That's what we do, right? I told y'all I have a background in STEM. So that's what we do, right? They teach us about the scientific method. They say, hey, you need to observe, you need to make a hypothesis. And then once you have your hypothesis, you then need to test it with your experiment. And once you have your experiment, you can then see if that's good, or then you could test it again. And then after you test it a few times, you could then propose a theory, and then you can start to propose that theory. And then hopefully that theory could become a law one day, or the vice versa, right? The scientific method, right? The scientific approach. That's what I learned, and I use that here. So when it comes to believing yourself, that is how I'm looking at it. I'm using an evidence-based approach. Okay. Once again, I'm using an evidence-based approach. So you're going to collect your data, you're going to analyze it, and then I need you to interpret your data correctly. Okay. Because you're essentially going to build a case for yourself that can survive cross-examination, right? Like you're a lawyer, right? You in law school. I just saw, this is a side note, I just saw this I just saw this show with Jax. I cannot think of it. It's a black lawyer. It's on Hulu. It was so good, y'all. I think law is very interesting. It's very important today. But yeah, I love that show. If y'all know what show I'm talking about with Jax, dang, I can't think of it. But she was with her man, and then they was cheating on each other in the beginning, and there was a lot going on. All right, it was a lot going on. But if y'all know that show, y'all know what I'm talking about. Please let me know. Please let me know. But here's the exercise I want y'all to do. Because you're trying to build a case for yourself. And then in this case, we all know we are probably our biggest critics, bigger than our mamas, bigger than our daddies, right? Bigger than our siblings, right? We are our biggest critics sometimes. So you're going to build up a case to where even you as a critic can't say nothing because you know that this is good evidence. So here's an exercise I want y'all to do. Right after this, this talk that I give y'all, because we just talking, before you do anything else, open up a note. It could be on your phone or you can write it down. Doesn't matter, but you need a way to record this data. Okay. And then I want you to write down 10 things. Not 10 things you're vaguely proud of, right? I need 10 specific moments where you did something hard and it worked. A grade you earned, a question you asked that nobody else asked, a project you finished when you wanted to quit, a time someone came to you for help instead of the other way around, right? Anything like that. Okay. I need you to list it because this is what you're building. You're building a competence file. Okay. This is not for motivation, it's just straight up data, right? This is your 10 specific moments. This is your 10. I can't create this 10. I don't know you like that. I can't even do it for most people, right? But you have to come up with your 10 things. And the reason this is big, this is tough because it talks about something else in the framework. But this is all I need you to do. List those 10 things. This is your competence file. It's data, and the data doesn't care how you feel about it on any given day after 3 p.m., right? When that doubt shows up uninvited, this is when you need to pull this file out, right? And then let me tell you why this is actually important, why this matters. Because I learned it the hard way. I want to be straight up real with y'all. I learned this the hard way, unfortunately. So a few years back, I gave a keynote. Okay, I gave a keynote. Um, okay, I'm just checking the time, y'all. Excuse me, I got sidetracked with something going on here. But I gave a keynote a few years back. It was awesome. It was a fun keynote. It was at a national conference. I've been to national conferences, but I never been to a national conference like that to where it's like, oh, I'm the keynote speaker. They're gonna fly me out. They're gonna pay for my room. They're gonna pay for all my meals. But yeah, it not necessarily my first talk, but that was my first big keynote. And then I was still new in the game, not my 10 talk, because like I said, that was a few years back. But this one felt different because I would say this is my first big national conference, right? It was a big stage. It was a big slot. It was a 3-day conference, 2 keynote speakers, and now I'm one of the 2 keynote speakers. Woo! Right? Just for comparison, they say comparison is a thief of joy, and it really is. But the other keynote speaker, this guy was a big shot. I'm not gonna lie. He been on national TV, one of those news outlets. I think it was GMA. He been on there. Good morning, Good Morning America. He built a multi-million-dollar nonprofit program. It was very big. He's still killing it. And then, of course, he's in a big city. He's from New York City. I'm from Oklahoma, a small town. Me, you know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, Oklahoma City. I mean, we top 20, I think now, but it ain't New York City. All right. So, and me, right at this time, I'm just a chemistry professor from Oklahoma. And at this time, I'm doing chemistry demonstration for the kids, and then we gradually talking about imposter syndrome. And I remember standing on that stage thinking, like, how did I even get here? How did I get here? So, a crazy thing, I gave my talk. I was nervous, of course, but after I gave my talk in front of the audience, it was at least 400 people, 400 to 450. pretty big. And then everybody in the audience, just to give a background, this was a academia conference. All these people were grant writers. Half of them had their PhDs. So these are not these people have some thought to them. Okay, just to put that way. All right. So after I gave my talk to these highly educated people, right, I got a lot of questions. I thought I was gonna get my talk and just let me hop off the stage. I gave a lot of questions, right? They gave me a lot of questions, and I had a lot of answers for them. After around 15 to 20 questions after, which is crazy for a Q&A. People were pulling me aside for the next 2 days, right? It was crazy. I loved it. And then that's the crazy thing about keynote, being that type of keynote speaker, right? Especially when your message has an impact, they make sure to pull you to the side and give you a whole 5-minute debrief on why your talk mattered. And I love that. Nothing feels better than that. I talked exactly about this framework that I'm talking with y'all today. And then people were going to use it in some type of capacity. Um, but anyway, after the conference, a few months later, the organizers, I get a call from somebody, and then they just got their results back in. And in the results, right, over this conference had been going on for 20 years. For 20 years, I was rated one of the best speakers they have had in 20 years. No lie. I'm still shocked when I say that, but I was rated one of the best speakers. I think I'm top 2 or 3 based on the, well, I want to say I might have been 2 or it might have been 1. They don't tell you who, but they just said based on the results, I was one of the highest best speakers in the past 20 years. It was really a great feeling. You know what I'm saying? It was awesome to be real with y'all. And what happened after that still shocks me even to this day. But here's the part that might make you a little mad on my behalf, because I didn't speak at another conference for the next 18 months after that. And I felt like, my feelings didn't match the data. And that was a me problem, right? That was a human problem. That was my issue, right? My feelings lagged behind my evidence. And what I want to tell y'all is that if you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever, you know? And I stopped. I didn't speak for 18 minutes because, like I said, it didn't match the data. At that time, I was still new. I was just really talking about imposter syndrome. That was my first big conference talking about it. And for me to get these great results, I felt like that was a mismatch. And then I started thinking about, well, the only reason why I was there is because, I met my Gary. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, is that you have to, when you start to give your accomplishments to external factors, that's where imposter syndrome, that doubt starts to creep in, starts to mess with your mind, and then you go into that negative mental state. You know what I'm saying? No, don't let anybody tell you that imposter syndrome is a good thing, because it's not. It's a negative mental state. For the next 18 months, I was in a negative mental state. Even though I'm a professor, the only thing I was speaking was I was speaking in front of my students, and that was it. Okay, I wasn't speaking about imposter syndrome. I was still researching it, of course, because I was just interested in it. But I was not speaking about it at any national conferences after that. Now, that's crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. That's the crazy thing about it. Because once you know this stuff, y'all, you look at life differently. Okay. And this is the thing. This is the thing. I'm trying to, like I said, respect the time here. Is that you already have evidence sitting in your history right now. Okay. That says that you are good enough. You've probably been ignoring it because it doesn't match how you feel today, just like me. But what we need to understand going forward is that now that you know this stuff, that ends now. And today you should start collecting it. Collect that data on purpose. Anytime, if it's anything, I highly suggest just to say, hey, as soon as you do something, bam, write it down. Because you don't know when you need to probably pull it back up. Now, here's the truth. Here's the truth. I'm going to be straight with y'all. All right. Knowing this doesn't change anything by itself. Reading the data doesn't move you. Okay. Writing the list doesn't move you. What moves you is acting on it before the doubt has time to argue back. Okay. That's exactly why I built something for y'all, right? Not a course. It's not a 12-week program. I got a 5-day challenge coming very soon. It's called the Speak Up Challenge. 5 days using everything we just talked about in real situations, and it's coming very, very soon. So please subscribe to the channel, pay attention. I will be talking about that more. Okay. Um, but I can't stress this enough to y'all. Action is totally key. You have to have action with your knowledge. If you have knowledge, but you lack application and execution, then you just have knowledge. And knowledge without execution does not move anything, right? You're trying to move something in your life. So you need that action, right? You need to see that action happen. Okay. Now, this is a challenge that I want to talk about. Like I said, it's gonna be a 5-day challenge. I'm just gonna break it down real fast. If you're interested, it is gonna be $27. Like I said, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll find out much more. Really, my email list. That's where you get more information. We talk more about imposter syndrome, all that type of stuff. But like to break down the 5 days real quick, right? The first day you're gonna find your pattern. So you're gonna commit to your one scary thing. Then I'm gonna have you build your competence list, which I briefly went over today. And then you're going to name that thing you've been putting off, right? So the thing that you know that you need to do, because we all know what we need to do. Like I said, with me and all the different things, I knew that I had to go back and start talking about this stuff again. Like I said, 2020, one of the best speakers in the past 20 years, right? That's crazy. But I didn't have the belief in myself, right? And even like today, I go on this live. I not everything wasn't perfect. I'm way over the time limit. I was supposed to be with y'all just for 20 minutes. Now it's saying that I've been here for 37 minutes, right? So you know I got to get off. But yeah, you have to have action. You have to believe. Okay. Now, I'm going off on a tangent, y'all. Day 3. All right, we're going to talk about name the thing that you was been putting off, because we know what we need to do. Script the exact sentence. So if you have exactly what you need to do, being specific helps more than you think, right? Versus being very vague. And then after that, you come at the end of the week, we talk about it, we reassess, and then we might go a little bit deeper later. But that is a 5-day challenge, speak up challenge that we are focused on, and we want y'all to come to. Once again, it's $27. You know, that is a dinner. That's basically a dinner, depending on where you at. So if you skip out on a dinner, you come to this 5-day challenge, yo, you might have enough to do a whole lot more after this challenge. All right. So once again, you already know that you code. You already know that you're great. You you got the evidence, right? You had it the whole time. Now I need y'all to go build that file. And once you build that file, man, let me know. Let me know in the comments if you actually did it. I will love it. Please reach out. I will see y'all on the next one. And once again, y'all, I'm gonna try to do this every Tuesday. All right, we will try to do this every Tuesday. See y'all next week.